Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back. This is Frantz Kantor, cartoonist, illustrator, and toon talker. And I'm going to do another drawing. I'm going to do another caricature. Wonder who this is. I'm here at the museum today practicing social distancing with Jim Bridges.
Yeah, the president and founder of the Australian Cartoon Museum here at downtown Docklands, Melbourne.
Yes, so it's a very sunny day today. No, I'm just kidding. It's Melbourne. That's right. I can tell I'm from Sydney now. Right, so who are we drawing today? We're drawing a actually somebody that I kind of sort of grew up with. This is Barbara Eden. Barbara Eden, of course, is Jeannie from I Dream of Jeannie. She's the girl with the blink, as opposed to the wiggle of the nose.
Oh, the girl next door. That's right, but the girl next door type.
I don't know if she's a girl next door. She's kind of like a dolly bird. She's got this sort of ponytail, blonde hair. Well, it's a genie. Okay, it's a female genie. Anyway, she's probably the most famous genie that ever lived.
What about Jeannie Reinhardt?
I don't know who that is.
Oh, the richest woman in Australia.
Well, that's not really a genie. She can't grant wishes.
What about I Dream of Jeannie?
Well,
with the light brown hair.
Yeah. Well, this is the sort of genie that everybody dreamed of, I think.
Yeah.
She's a very interesting actress.
Better than that
Barbara
blue bloke
Eden
in the Disney movie.
Yeah. She is... I know he was pretty good. She's... there she is with Larry Hagman, who played Anthony Nelson. Major Nelson in the show I Dream of Jeannie. She's a very cute character. When she hit the screen, of course, there was a little bit of a kerfuffle because she had her belly button in the first season, I think the first few episodes. The censor wanted to cover up her belly button. They thought it was too...
put a bit of putty in there. Yeah.
Well, just to sort of lift the belt of the pantaloons, the belt, what do you call it, the genie pants,
the harem pants.
Yeah, so she kind of for the role she spent most of her life with this amazing amount of blonde hair, and very iconic for the period, much more iconic than the Bewitched. Who just basically looked like a real regular person. Jeannie had this sort of, this outfit, the harem girl outfit. And she used to run around calling Anthony Nelson, Major Nelson, Master. So this was in the 60s. So obviously you've got, women's rights and things like that. But this was almost like a tongue-in-cheek poke at the situation, because even though she was a genie, and genies have masters who let them out of the bottle, etc., she was very, very feisty, very she was really able to look after herself, obviously, with having magical powers, but she had a very strong personality. She was not very subservient. She was very fun and very mischievous. She's got a beautiful face, she's got quite striking features, and the what do you call it? The mascara and the false eyelashes. They're sort of they don't take away from her intelligence. Looks very, very intelligent. Her face. This is her with her husband, Michael Ansara, who was also a television star at the time. He played the great Jin in the show, but he used to be playing American Indians a lot. This is with the son grown up. She's got this is her at a fundraiser, I think, that was conducted a few years ago. That's with Larry Hagman. So she's a very pretty girl. That's not her. That's another subject that's coming up soon. So we're going to be using this photograph to build a likeness. Okay, so what I've done is I've tried to get, to draw out some aspects, some simple shapes. You want to talk about Barbara's work? We'll talk about it as we get into it. Let's discuss these shapes.
Do the T-zone.
So basically, I've got this sort of
that's an outdoor shot, isn't it? So her light sort of...
No, studio. So you've got the light coming in from the right, and you've got shadows happening on the left-hand side of the object.
So you've got the ring of confidence on her hair, that shiny...
shine. We'll try and capture that. So anyway, this is a sort of the shape that I'm looking at, right? So I've simplified and exaggerated the shape. And within that, I'm going to try to get her Jeannie aspect. So one is the veil and the little, I don't know what that is, pillbox at the top with her ponytail, etc. The fringe plays a huge part of her character. Her bangs.
It covers over her worry lines, that's certainly for sure.
Well, the photograph I'm using is a bit blurry, so I might have to rely on a closer shot to get some...
That's a little bit blurry too.
Yeah. Well, that's all right. That's a little bit better. It also gives you an idea of the overall shape of...
That was from that sketch, wasn't it?
Yeah. So anyway, let's go. I've taken the opportunity to work from this heavily stylized shape, and I've put it into a pencil. So I've actually sort of taken that and put it onto the grey paper, just sketching it up freehand and changing it as I go a little bit, just to try to get a bit of dynamics happening, movement, etc. So let's go into a face more.
Where's the light come from?
Well, I said the light comes in from the top right, so you can see over here. The light's sort of shining from this direction, so you get shadows on this side. That's how we're going to get the three-dimensional form happening in the face. The other thing, of course, is we're keeping an eye on the eyes, the nose, and the mouth, which is the sort of the T-zone area. That's where our likeness is built, and the recognition factor of who it is we're drawing. Okay, so there that's the basic rule. So let's get into it.
Well, she was born in 1931.
Wow.
And her name is Barbara Jean Moorhead.
Okay.
And she changed it to Eden. She's born in Tucson, Arizona. She's born in Tucson, Arizona.
Yeah.
And during the Depression, her mother, they were poor, and her mother sang to her. So she got interested in singing at a very early age.
Right.
And she joined a church choir and sang, and then also sang in local bands. Then they shifted to Frisco, San Francisco. And she studied... she also sang in local bands, yes, in Frisco, and she studied singing at the San Francisco Conservatory of Music. And also at the theatre she studied theatre at the City College Frisco for 1 year. And in 1951 she was crowned Miss San Francisco. And she also entered the Miss California pageant, which I don't know where she came.
Right.
So she's had a bit of the glamorous life plus singing. And of course, she's done many TV shows. She's been on the Johnny Carson Show, Highway Patrol, I Love Lucy, Perry Mason, Gunsmoke, Bachelor Father, Adventures in Paradise, James A. Michener's, Andy Griffith Show, The Virginian, The Rogues, Route 66.
Okay, so she's on the TV circuit.
Yeah, and Burke's Law.
Hot Dial.
And she was
Goodness.
on, like, she played different roles each time. She wasn't the same character, you know. And she actually got into a film. Her first film was Tarnished Angels, which was a Rock Hudson movie, but she was
Blonde number 3.
Yeah, or number 10 or something, you know. She didn't get a credit, but she was in it.
All right.
Yeah, so she tried to get into the Peyton Place TV show, but didn't get the role.
No, she just looks too sweet.
Yeah, she is sweet. I think she's like the girl next door, personally, but
Yeah.
anyway, I mean, I can see Olivia Neutron...
Who can grant wishes. Yeah, Olivia Neutron Bomb.
Neutron Bomb. Oh, I'm glad you said it, you know, in her face. And then she was in the film Will Success Spoil Rock Hunter? And Bail Out at 43,000 Feet and Wayward Girl. So she got into films.
Yeah, and then I saw her in a film with Burl Ives and Tony Randall called The Brass Bottle.
Which is about Jeannie.
About a genie. So I'm thinking that's where
that's exactly
the whole
where the
idea
that's right.
came from.
That's right. I remember that film, but it's a long time ago. I really liked the genie in it.
Yeah, Burl Ives.
Yeah, who was a
You
singer.
said Milton Berle.
Yeah, who was a singer, and he was in a lot of. He played a lot of Southern men, big
Yeah,
daddies,
Big
daddies. Yeah,
Yeah, in Big... Was it not
I
Big
think the
Valley?
Long Hot Summer was the Long Hot Summer.
Big Country.
The film. Yes, was it Big Country?
Yeah, not Long Hot Summer, I think.
No, but he was in the film Long Hot Summer.
Oh, was
not
he?
the television show.
Oh, okay, I didn't watch that.
Yeah.
Because that's Edmund O'Brien.
Yes, but he was also in. She was also in The Wayward Girl, A Private Affair with Sal Mineo, and she was in Flaming Star with Elvis Presley. And she moved on to TV, of course. And Irving Allen, the great disaster producer, put her in The Voyage of
Irwin Allen.
Irwin, what did I say?
Yeah. Irving.
Well,
Irwin Allen.
oh, sorry.
Put her in...
In The Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea.
Right. There you go.
And The Wonderful World of the Brothers Grimm, which was a George Pell movie.
Don't remember that. Okay, cool.
And 5 Weeks in a Balloon.
Yep, remember that.
And then she was in The Yellow Canary. And The Brass Bottle. I think The Brass Bottle was 63.
Was it?
And she was in The New Interns, which was about... there was a lot of
Doctors.
people in that.
Doctors in Love.
Yeah. And The Seven Faces of Dr. Leo, which you would have
Dr.
seen.
Lau, yeah. They were also with Tony Randall.
Yes.
And that was not a George... Was that a George Pell? No, that was a
No.
Ray Harryhausen special effects
Yes,
film.
that's right.
And that was amazing.
And
My
didn't,
kids loved that
Didn't
film.
Randall play 7 roles?
He did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an incredible film, that. It's got like a... You know, he does it really well. I think it kind of put Tony Randall on the map in many ways.
Yeah.
Very incredible talent.
And then she was in the Harper Valley PTA film, which was based on the...
Oh, that was well after
hit-
Jeannie.
No. That's
Yeah.
the film.
Oh,
And later on in 78,
oh,
she reprised the role in the television series.
oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't
And
even remember it.
1965 is the big year because that's when I Dream of Jeannie happened.
Right.
And she did 139 episodes over 5 years.
Right.
She also played her evil twin sister, who I can't remember her name,
Yeah.
and she also played her own mother as well.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Yeah, as they do, don't they?
and then she went on and did TV. She did all sorts of things. The Feminist and the Fuzz. And she worked again with Larry Hagman in a film called a TV film made for TV called The Howling in the Woods. Have you seen that?
No.
Sounds like a horror film, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then she played the film called The Stranger Within on TV, which where she gets pregnant by aliens. I know nothing about that film.
No, I've never heard of it.
Yeah. And then she made a film for TV called Stone Street, Who Killed the Centerfold Model. And she was also in the Stepford Children, which a lot of people saw. Isn't that...
Stepford Wives, but with kids.
Yeah,
the kid version.
Well, I don't know.
The children's version.
I think you're getting carried away there, you know.
It's the children's version of the Stepford Wives.
So in 1988, she co-produced Secret Life of Cathy McCormick. So she's getting a bit of clout there, being a co-producer.
Right.
And then she was in a show called Opposites Attract with John Forsythe. And also, so here's a couple I missed. She was also...
Bachelor Father and Charlie from Charlie's Angels.
Yeah, that's right. Who actually started off his career at the same time as Henry Fonda. They shared digs together, but Henry Fonda...
One went left and one went right.
Well, one didn't go much places.
No, Bachelor Father.
Yeah. But I forgot, she was also in Father Knows Best, remember that?
No, I remember the show.
Dr. Kildare and Rawhide. I don't know what she played in Rawhide. Yeah. Anyway,
Cowgirl.
1984 comes around. And
Oh, does it? Okay.
she's still known as
Jeannie, yeah.
Right. And she gets a chance to do a musical because she is a singer. She started off as a singer. She trained as a singer.
Right.
So she does Woman of the Year, which is a musical. And then she does Dallas, the Dallas show. What's that called? You know, with Larry Hagman.
Oh dear. Okay.
You know, I don't know what she
You
played
must
in
have
that.
got a role on
Yeah.
that.
And then besides musicals, she did straight shows on plays on stage. Same time next year. Isn't that the Alan Alda film where they meet every year?
Yeah.
They're not married to each other, but they meet
No.
every year
Yeah.
in a hotel, and they discuss their And she was also on stage Last of the Red Hot Lovers. Now, have a guess who one of her lovers was?
Tony Randall?
No, Don Knotts.
Oh, okay.
So it's obviously a comedy.
Oh wait, that's a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she also did it on stage with him. You know Don Knotts is?
Yeah, from Andy Griffith's show.
Yeah, the
Yeah, he
bumbling...
did a few films like that.
Didn't he do that strange film about he turns
Start
into a
or something.
fish?
Limpet, Harvey Limpet or
Yeah,
something.
there's something like that.
Strange World of Harvey Limpet, something like that.
And she did a lot of musicals. She did Sound of Music, Annie Gets Your Gun. These are all on stage. South Pacific, Pajama Game, all the classics. Gentlemen Prefer Blondes.
Do they?
Finny and Rainbow. Well, my dad said that gentlemen prefer blondes, but they get dirty quicker. Unsinkable Molly Brown. And, of course, the best Little Whorehouse in Texas.
But she'll always be Jeannie to a lot of people. And because she owned that role. It was like her Hamlet.
Her Hamlet.
Yes, Jeannie was her Hamlet. So don't let anyone tell you any other way.
Did Shakespeare ever write down anybody to blink in his plays?
I don't know.
She was the best blinker in the business, was she?
Yeah, best little blinker in town.
Yeah.
So so she had a. It was a paying gig, you know. Who would have thunk that TV? See, TV in those days was in its formative stages, I guess. People were kind of sick of dramas, you know, so they wanted something else. They wanted some light comedy.
All the top shows were
She had
comedies.
the ability.
All the top shows were comedies, weren't they?
Yes, with this lineup.
Yeah.
In 66.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you had, you know, obviously iconic shows like Here's Lucy or something like that, but this was something new. This is sort of a fantasy comedy type of thing. So
well, I mean,
unclear who their market was because...
You see, her master was an astronaut, right? So that's a big deal because astronauts in the 60s were a big deal, right?
Yeah.
And, of course...
and Miami.
Yeah.
Miami Beach, Florida. So there's a lot of...
Well, then it was actually
Beach.
no, it wasn't
Cocoa
called.
Beach.
No, it was called it used to be called Cape Canaveral, but then they called it Cape Kennedy after Kennedy was assassinated.
Right.
But now it's called Cape Canaveral again. People have short memories.
Oh, do they?
Oh yeah.
So who's Canaveral? Somebody else.
He had this. I think he invented the cape.
Medicine.
He invented the cape.
Canaveral.
Yeah. And she also did lots of TV specials like the Bob Hope special, Carol Burnett shows, Jonathan Winters show, Jerry Lewis show, and Donnie and Marie. Now, that's a show I never saw.
So she would have been brought on those shows as...
A singer.
A singer, okay.
Yeah.
And you remember her from I Dream of Jeannie. Here she is singing her latest song.
Well, in '67 she put out an album called Miss Barbara Eden.
Right.
And I think she even wrote a couple of songs on that album.
Right.
But I mean, you know, she always wanted to be a singer, but, you know, fate stepped in.
Did fate?
The fickle finger of fate stepped in.
Right.
I don't know how fingers can step, but...
Okay, so the show is a very iconic show, I Dream of Jeannie. When you first look at it, they had obviously it was in black and white the first season, like Bewitched. Bewitched was also in black and white the first season. So I don't know whether it was like a technology thing or price thing or what. I'm not quite sure, but that's what happened, and so. You were obviously aware of the colour because, you know, all of the advertising was in colour. So you were quite aware of her costumes and all of this sort of stuff.
Well, she was in colour on the cover of the TV Week and all that sort of stuff. But I never saw the colour shows. I mean,
no,
colour TV hadn't come along in Australia then, so all the shows were in black and white as far as I was concerned. The same as with Gilligan's Island and even Bewitched. Although I've seen some Bewitched shows in colour.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The later, usually the second season of a show, for some reason they turn the colour on. I don't know. Or invest in colour technology. Who knows what it is?
And for 4 years, she toured in The Odd Couple as one of The Odd Couple, the female version. I don't know who her co-star was.
So you don't know whether she's the finicky one or the bum?
I think... No, I don't know. I don't know who... You know, don't know. And she also toured in a play called Love Letters with Larry Hagman. I think that was their last thing together. Mm-hmm. And in 2011, she did a memoir called Out of a Bottle. Right. And we know what bottle that was. That was the brass bottle. That was the brass bottle. She said all her success came out of the bottle.
Right.
As opposed to a lot of people's success drains out of the bottle, doesn't it?
Yeah.
In showbiz.
She's a very interesting character. As I said, you know, the personality is very... there was a lot going on in the 60s, like liberation and stuff like that. So the shows were designed to push the envelope a little bit.
Yeah, but they also, I mean, there was a lot of stuff going down in America, and so these shows were total escapism, you know, fantasy.
Yeah, but even then, they started to push the envelope.
Oh, between the male and the female relationship.
Yeah, and I mean, they're, you know, unmarried, living together, etc. I think they didn't get married to the 5th season. They
got married?
I think so. Or maybe it was like a TV special or something. I can't remember. But
what was her wedding dress?
I don't know. I think she became like a human-looking character then. She gave up her pyjamas.
Well, she didn't always wear that costume because she'd sort of turn up in a... I remember seeing her dressed as a hostess in something where she's sneaking in somewhere. She always made his
into
life...
the base, yeah.
Yeah, something like that in the base, yeah.
So it was like a girl of your dreams who can do anything for you, right? All you have to do is wish it, and it comes true. Yeah, so it's the same premise as Bewitched.
Yeah, but it's all about timing, isn't it?
How do you mean?
And of course, well, she would turn up while he's orbiting the Earth as an astronaut. She'd turn up there and stuff like that. And the guys at Cape Canaveral said, "What's that? What's going on?" You know, and all that stuff. They didn't have cameras, but you could hear on the radio.
Yeah, so you know, they had, I mean, I don't want to go into the other characters' dynamics and stuff, but it's
Well, it's just farce.
it's a premise.
It was a
that
farce. It was
they were
basically farce because always catching her in the wrong place
At the wrong
and
time,
her
yeah.
situation, timing.
Yeah.
The whole thing was like farce.
So, like Bewitched, you had the ability to grant any wish, but they decided, no, I don't want anything. I want to be a human. I don't want wishes. And I remember thinking at the time how stupid these men are, both of them.
Oh, men are
They
stupid.
didn't want anything. You got someone who can grant you wishes, and you don't. That's it. The only person who had any sort of honesty, I think, was Major Healy, and he was the best friend who was always trying to get freebies. you know, off her, just by being Tony's friend. Trying to get wishes, like for a present or something, So it was really. He was actually very good. I loved his role in the show. He's actually very funny.
Yeah, but I mean, the point is there'd be no. I mean, you wouldn't have the drama, the front. If he got everything he wanted. He didn't want anything, and that sets up the whole situation. He's got this access to a woman who can grant every.
She sleeps in a bottle, and he sleeps in a bedroom. So it was like
I know a lot of marriages.
She wanted to.
I know a lot of marriages like that.
Yeah, but she wanted to be not more than master servant type of relationship.
Yeah. But you see, also a lot of the humour was the fact that he's an astronaut and he has this special,
star status.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
66 is before the moon landing, so I think the show probably ended before they landed on the moon. But there was a lot of that build-up, like practice shots and things like that. So there was a lot of the interest in the show somewhat hinged on the space race.
When was the moon landing?
69.
No, well, it started in 65. The show started in 65.
Yeah.
And it went for 5 years, so...
So they landed on the moon?
Yeah.
How about that?
I remember everybody was talking about John Glenn when I got to school one day. They were all talking about John Glenn. I had no idea who John Glenn was. And, was he a footballer or was he on TV and all that sort of... No. Who is he, Oh, he's an American,
And what did he do?
Well, was it the first American to fly in space, wasn't it?
In space.
No, he didn't walk in space.
Did he walk in
He
space?
just was the first man.
No.
Like Yuri Gagarin.
Yuri Gagarin was...
Yeah, but the first American man,
All right.
And what about the dog?
Whose dog?
The dog was the first. The Russian dog was the first person to go into space. First human. First mammal.
Dog.
First mammal.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought of being a makeup artist?
I have.
You're pretty nifty with that pencil.
Yeah, I've studied makeup.
She's got very, very white pupils, hasn't she?
Yeah, I know, because she's got very pale blue eyes, and I'm trying to sort of compensate for that by not...
Do you think that
doing them
they
too
fiddle
much.
with that to get their eyes white?
No.
She just had natural...
Yeah.
She went to bed early every night, huh?
I don't know.
There's no red rings there.
I'm going to look at the other photograph in a sec, because it's got finer wrinkles around the eyes, so I want to sort of have a look at that.
I like what you've done with the hair, but are you going to get that circular shine in?
Yeah, I'll try to get that in. There's a lot of... when you're drawing mascara and false eyelashes, of course, they're attached to the upper lid. So they, in a way, they're designed to enhance or mask imperfections around the eye. You've got to try to look beyond it to what the actual anatomy is. Because otherwise
rip away
you can't
the
draw
artifice. Rip away the artifice.
Well, you can't draw it then. You've got to be able to look beyond the photograph. So
well, that's good advice for all artists, isn't it?
Yeah.
Look beyond the photograph.
Well, otherwise, you're just painting a photograph. You're just referencing that. You need to sort of look into think about what you're drawing in terms of how what the construction of it is.
And what's the difference between a photograph and a drawing, Frantz?
A photograph is a drawing with light.
I think you could talk for about an hour on that subject.
Well, photographs don't tell stories. Drawings tell stories. They're sort of created with time involved. There's a lot of time involved in the narrative part of the drawing process. Because there's, as you can tell from this, there's a lot of process, a lot of things happening here. I'm thinking about the shapes, the individual shapes of these forms, like the nose. She's got a beautifully shaped, sharp, pointy nose. Not pointy so much, but it's got a little, like a foil, the thing they put on the foil, the stopper, from when you do sword.
Foils and foils.
Like that.
As an actress, I saw a lot of those films she was in. And she didn't really stand out except for in the brass bottle. I remember she stood out in that. A bit of fluff. I liked that film. But she was just like a good-natured blonde in everything she ever did. And of course, when she was in the television show, I mean, it's one thing to see a film, but then to see the show like she did all those episodes. 5 years.
I don't think if you didn't have the talent, you would never have been able to pull that off. It's really based on who you are, what you can bring to the table. It's sort of a stupid concept of master servant, of a genie in a bottle or something. And like Robin Williams, owning the Disney genie in Aladdin, making it his own. It's what he brought to the character. So it's really what she brought to the character of this genie from a bottle.
The other thing
made it exciting.
She wasn't
interesting.
Outwardly sexy. She wasn't.
Well, they didn't pick her for that.
She didn't seem to have a carnal bone in her body.
No, she's very innocent, and she had a girl next door type of appeal. Same with Bewitched as well. With can't remember her name now, but
Elizabeth Montgomery.
Yeah, Elizabeth Montgomery. She had that girl next door type of appeal as well. So they're very much interested in creating somebody that people can connect with. Characters that seem real enough to you, so that you can believe
which came first.
Stupid stories there.
Which show came first?
They came hot on each other's heels, so I can't remember which one. I think Bewitched came first, and then Jeannie. But Jeannie would have been...
Well, came out of the...
They may have thought of, doing a Bewitched sort of scenario at first, and then changed it to this.
Jeannie came out of the bottle, the brass bottle, basically.
Yeah, but I think the idea was they wanted to have something that was like Bewitched, but Bewitched had already, obviously taken that.
Well,
that
a lot of television shows were based on movies.
Yeah, but
at that time
they're not copying each other. They just happen to come up with ideas that are similar.
Yeah.
It's not like Spy, TV version of Spy versus Spy. It's actually quite. It makes sense when you think about it, because it's like they're following ideas that are in popular culture or something, maybe some article or a comic or, I don't know, something that happened. Could be a movie even, that kind of sparked an idea, but they both had the same idea at the same time. This idea evolved into something else. But I'm only presuming that it could very well be the genie idea came first and then the witch came second. We don't know. I can't remember which one. And it doesn't really matter in the end of the day. They're both good at what they did, and they're they stand out because of that. So actors have to take on these roles sometimes they're stupid, premises like a genie in a bottle. They just seem, ridiculous and unbelievable, And she was able to take the role and own it, and really turn it into something that people are always remembering.
Mm.
So that is an achievement in itself. It's something that's we kind of take for granted today because there's so much material, there's so much videos and movies and TV shows and things since the 1960s.
Well, apparently she was a good singer,
but
it's just that
all she sang was Ya Habibi on this show.
Yeah, but apparently she was a good singer, but it never took off. I mean, she had that great platform of being famous for Jeannie, but people want her to be Jeannie. That's it. It's like
Right.
Bob Denver in Dobie Gillis, and then he was in the Gilligan's Island. They wanted him to be Gilligan all the time.
Well, yeah. So you get what they call typecasting.
Yeah. So, I mean, she broke away by doing the singing and doing the musicals and stuff, but people were amazed. Oh, she can sing. Oh, she's in The Sound of Music. Oh, that's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I think, because there's a different audience for stage and obviously TV shows. It's probably the only area that you can.
I remember finding a poster. She was in some place in Texas with Don Knotts in that play they did, Last of the Red Hot Lovers, and I was sort of shocked. I'm thinking, well, is this someone been messing around with? Is this some sort of a visual joke? Yeah.
Why were you shocked?
Well, I couldn't imagine Don Knotts being a Red Hot lover, and I couldn't imagine her being in it.
He was in a couple of films like that.
Well, he just seemed to be he was in a bumble. He played some bumbling cowboy, and Mr. Limbit, he returns into a fish, and that's about it. Besides he was always, pretending to be brave as a policeman in that, as a sheriff's assistant in that show.
Andy Griffith.
Yeah. And when you have all those bulging eyes like he did, he wasn't exactly like what's this guy's name?
Well, the limpet thing, pun intended, is a fish out of water story. How's that? And all of the characters
definitely intended.
But he would have played a lot of characters like that, fish out of water stories.
Yeah. But there's not too many fish out of water stories,
No, so they would have run out of fish out of water. But he had such an iconic voice. It's the one thing that
squeaky and high.
I don't know if Barbara did any cartoon voiceovers.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think she did. I don't know. She might have. They might have even had a Saturday morning Dream with Jeannie. I don't know.
They did have a
I don't think they would have. I don't think they would have, because kids wouldn't be interested in the relationship between a genie and an astronaut.
No, astronaut's too adult for them, I think.
No, kids love astronauts. It's just that, you're talking
about the 70s.
It's about society and sexual tension building up in situations like that's what a lot of it's a farce. It's basically a farce,
right?
Where the whole premise of the thing is the wrong person at the wrong time,
Yeah, well, you kind of get that with Major Healy, because Major Healy represents us, and you kind of he questions Tony's
his nervous response. He was always juggling her.
Who?
Tony, Larry Hagman is always juggling the situation, always.
I just think he was very, he could have had it all and didn't want it. So it's like, well, you dummy.
Yeah, but you're a kid saying that. I mean, it wouldn't have worked.
Yeah, I'm not the only one. Major Healy said that.
No, but the show wouldn't have worked. It just wouldn't have worked.
Mm.
So
it was
as that
like frustrated,
great philosopher once said, you can't always get what you want.
Right.
And,
Anthony Newley.
No. Stop the film, I want to get off.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's... it's not bloody Anthony Newley.
I know who it is.
Yeah.
Mickey Dolenz.
Close. You're getting warmer.
It's somebody under the boardwalk. I know that.
Under the boardwalk. No, it's...
Yeah. Isn't it...
Someone standing in the shadows.
Oh, it's the Shadows.
Someone standing in the shadows.
Oh, then I don't know.
Standing in the shadows.
No, I thought it was...
It's Mick Jagger.
Yeah. What's the Shadows got to do with Mick Jagger?
It's a song, Standing in the Shadows.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Well, I don't know anything of then. I'm completely
Now, there's someone you should draw.
Of Mick Jagger.
If you had the chance to draw
Don't
John
you think
Lennon...
Mick Jagger's been drawn enough?
No, but if you had the chance to draw John Lennon or Mick Jagger, who would you draw?
Oh, John Lennon.
Because?
I think John Lennon's got like something about his face. It's got a lot of puzzlement. I think it's worth a go.
A lot of people draw him like a Christ
Do they?
figure. Yeah.
Mm. Apparently he's not such a nice person.
I don't think he was. He had a troubled life.
Yeah.
And I think...
a lot of people don't like how
I think
his son was treated.
No. I think Yoko Ono gave him sort of like a get out of fatherhood card.
Right. What's that mean? Don't look after the kids.
Well, you're an artist.
Oh, okay.
He's got everything he needs. He's an artist and he don't look back.
So,
Paul McCartney wrote a song all about it called Hey Jude, Don't Be Afraid.
Right.
Because his son Julian was written for him.
Ah.
Paul McCartney's wrote that song.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Oh, that looks very nice so far.
I didn't know.
God, I reckon you could go into... you could get a top job for Estee Lauder, couldn't you?
Estee Lauder.
Drawing pretty women instead of photographing them.
So right over here, I'm putting in a side light to try to get some of the.
You've only slightly increased her nose.
Increased
only
the angles
slightly
a little bit. Yeah.
Increased her nose.
What are you talking about?
I'm just looking at the different ways. Well, look at your sketch. Look at your sketch. You increased the nose.
She has a very long face, so the features, very beautiful features, but they are spread across a lot of land. This is a lot of land over here. I've mucked up the jaw. I have to fix it up.
You're going to shave a bit of bone off the jaw, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm going to try.
As a kid, I felt sorry for her.
You felt sorry for Jeannie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I wasn't much of a kid. I was 16, I think, but I felt sorry for her because I felt, she's stuck in that bottle and she doesn't do much. She's bored out of her brain all the time.
Mm. Well, you could
it's like she put her life on hold. Although occasionally she'd disappear and turn up with all sorts of strange people from the past, from her Jeannie past.
Oh, I love Jin, the dog. Was it Jin?
I don't know.
It was an invisible dog that used to tear people's clothes to shreds.
Okay.
I thought that was a really clever... Because the actors, there's nobody there, right? So the actors had to...
They didn't have to pay the dog, did they?
No, but the actors had to pretend
the dog
that they're being attacked by an invisible dog.
Yeah.
Right? And this is all of them. Like, everybody in the show got attacked by the dog, except, obviously, Jeannie. But
don't mess with the Jeannie.
Yeah, but I thought that was such a clever idea, and they had to really... they had to pretend. So that means acting, right? So in the show, a lot of the time, the actors didn't get much of a chance to push their craft, except for that, the dog ripping their clothes off. So I often thought that was a really good trick to get the actors to act for once.
Actually, Larry Hagman, his mother was Mary Martin, who was the first Maria in The Sound of Music on stage, and also in South Pacific and God knows what. She was like Queen of Broadway.
Right.
She's up there with Helen Hayes. So I don't think he really got to stretch his acting muscles much in the roles he played.
No.
He just played a bastard or a bumbling...
Or a drunk in The Blob, son of the Blob.
Oh, God. I think we went to two different movies on the same day.
Well,
I saw The Blob, but not the son of the Blob.
People saw the son of the Blob expecting, the Blob. And it did have some interesting...
It didn't have Steve McQueen for a start.
Well, it had the guy that played the Watermelon Man. He got eaten first, and he was really good.
The Watermelon Man? There was a... What was his name?
I don't know.
But he's a black guy.
Yeah, he's very good, though. He got eaten by the Blob. And
Not many people...
he did it really well. It's an art. To get eaten by the Blob, it's an art form, and he did it so well.
Oh, look, I can see it on his CV now, eaten by the Blob, yes. Yeah. It's up there with Married to the Mob, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's, it's that sort of like, you start with disbelief in your face, oh, no, I'm not getting eaten by the Blob, and then realization slowly comes upon, and it shows in your face, you realize that you're being eaten by a jelly. And you're being absorbed and turned into jelly. So you're being
so there were no fart jokes?
Jellified.
There were no fart jokes or spit you out?
No, there's some really good scenes.
Didn't spit out skeletons or anything like that?
No, there's some really good scenes, except for Larry Hagman. He didn't do a good scene.
Oh, was he eaten by? Oh, he was eaten by that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you got to start somewhere, folks. You got to start somewhere.
There's some crummy actors in that, but the one performance that stood out for me...
Well, Steve McQueen was not bad in that film, in the first one.
The first one, yeah, it was pretty good. But I think he was all right. I mean, the character, it's hard to say whether it's the character, it's supposed to be unshakable. Like the guy that you depend on is going to save the day.
He responded really fast.
Yeah,
that's what I remember about his role. His responsibility was pretty high standard.
A lot of he was all right, but a lot of people thought that everybody in that movie phoned it in, and that was the problem.
Are there any figures on how much money it cost to make, or did it cost any money to make?
No, it didn't cost any money to make. They were all experimenting at the time. I think, he was doing TV.
I remember the time that ad came out for that film.
For the first film or the second film?
The first film. And I'm thinking, oh, God, what the hell is this about? And I was it 61? Is it 61?
59.
59, yeah. I was just a kid, and I'm thinking, oh, God, you've got to be kidding.
You're joking, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I didn't see it till TV. And by the time it got on TV, it had a really good, I forget the name of the band, had a really good soundtrack, like, I can't do it, that pop, beware of the Blob, that sort of thing. It's really good. If you want to YouTube
it. I mean, I spent a lot of time looking at the ads for pictures in the Melbourne Herald and especially on Thursday where they have the big ads and they have the drawings and the photos and stuff, and I actually started collecting them at one stage.
The movie posters in the paper.
Well, yeah, the ads. They're
grey. Just retouched.
Yeah, I know. They're not even in colour, But I'm just saying that. So I looked at all these films coming out that I never saw until later on because I was too young. But I wasn't at all interested in the Blob. That went straight to the Cooper. That did.
Did it? I didn't.
You're not going to do the circle.
I don't understand it.
You're not going to do the circle.
What's a circle?
Well, there's this circle. See? Whoops. Sorry.
Touch my stuff.
Not touch. Not touch.
Not
touch.
I'm not. I don't know. It's kind of an overpowering highlight.
It is.
So I might sort of...
We don't want any overpowering highlights in this caricature. And it is a caricature, although he keeps on calling it an illustration. He's lengthened the land on her face for a start.
So more of the caricatures are sort of like more of a process rather than anything else.
Well, the word caricature is Italian and it means a charged portrait. So there's something else going through it, instead of just a straight portrait. It's charged
with electricity.
Well, they didn't have electricity when they invented the word.
When did they invent the word?
Oh, in the Renaissance.
Bull.
Eh?
They invented caricature.
Well,
in
no,
Renaissance.
it became famous.
Cartoon
it
used to be a drawing.
No. Caricature was always around, but no one really. It didn't take off It didn't take off as a genre.
A genre
until the Renaissance, really.
So, you want to talk? If you want to talk about caricature, the reason why you've got a big head and a small body, do you remember how that played about? Do you want to tell people? Do you know? No. Okay.
Well, it's
silence.
It's the quickest way to make a joke, isn't it?
Nope.
Put a big head on a small body.
No, there's a reason for it.
I mean, that's why people laugh at dwarfs, isn't it?
No. The reason is because in the days of early days of printing, they couldn't reproduce photographs and the likenesses of politicians and royalty and the famous, which they had to do for the newspapers or the one-sheeters that they had. They used caricature because it's just a big head on a small body, so you can see. It's an illustration, so you could see face of the person.
Having an illustration of a head on a small body is a humorous thing, but it's not a caricature as such. You have to.
But that's where the idea of caricatures came from. That's how they started. They weren't exaggerated.
Oh no, I'll take you on about that. I'll take you on about that.
You think that in the early days of caricatures, they exaggerated the
well, it's there. I mean, the British caricaturists, the French caricaturists before they had these printing.
During what time are you
French
talking Revolution?
About?
Yeah. So you got papers. They were one-sheeters, like flyers.
Well, caricatures were one-sheeters before they ever had magazines or newspapers. That's for sure.
Yeah, because they had no photographs.
Well, people used to go and look in the shop where the people sold these things, and they'd stick them in the window, and they'd just look at all these pictures. And all the people who couldn't read used to look there and figure out what the hell was going on politically at the time. I mean, James Gilray.
But they weren't exaggerated.
James Gilray, of course he was.
They weren't, but I don't think they were that exaggerated. I think they were just blown up heads.
No, but I mean, you didn't have, no one pushed the nose as much as Scarf ever did, and he started in the 60s.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm talking about. So the modern idea of, pushing forms and things didn't really exist back then.
If Da Vinci was alive today and you ask him about his caricatures, he wouldn't call them caricatures. He'd call them, what do you call them?
Drawings.
He'd call them monstrosities because he did certain drawings showing people with their mouth open, laughing and looking pretty ugly and scary. He'd call them monstrosities, or grotesques.
Grotesques.
Yeah, grotesques.
Yeah.
But, I mean...
I don't know. I think
when King George, Mad King George, was shown a caricature by somebody, he called them mad. He called the people who drew them mad designers.
Mad designers.
He didn't call them cartoonist or artist. He called them mad designers.
Right.
So it was a type of design in the thinking, obviously, at the time. It was a type of design. You design the head in a different way, or the features in a different way.
Okay. All right, so
you're probably right, but I'm saying that there were so many pictures of people with big heads that weren't caricatured, they were just illustrated heads on a small, funny body.
All right.
Like you could turn the Prime Minister into a jockey His body's a jockey. His head's the same, but, you know, and most of the time they didn't even put a jockey's hat on him or whatever like that. Or he could be riding he could be like a little black boy riding an elephant or something, but it's still the Prime Minister of the time, you know. And it was recognisable. But the body changed, you know, the body was different.
Interesting. All right. I just want to have a quick look at the other picture before I move on. There's quite a lot of small details in the creases and stuff around her face. Because she's got quite a, later days she had a nose job. She's got quite that severeness of
How
this.
do you know that? You can tell by the photos.
Yeah, it's reduced a little bit, but there's a lot of. Look, I'm only presuming, but it looks that there's a slight change in some of the effects of her expressions. There's quite a few. Lines
it's terrible.
coming
A
up.
caricaturist has to take in the fact that, you know,
No, I'm just
plastic surgery could alter things.
everything can alter. Makeup can alter things. Makeup, you've got to, as I said, you've got to look beyond the different colour
Beyond the artifice.
a little bit. Got to try to, you know.
I remember the
underneath.
first time I saw a photograph of a film star without makeup on, I didn't recognise who it was. I think it was.
It's the idea of makeup,
I think it was Marilyn Monroe without
Mm.
makeup or something, and she just.
Yeah. I mean, she's still very beautiful.
Yeah,
but I
makeup
think
makeup
has got
finishes
some-
you off, doesn't it? Really, it doesn't start at the bottom and build you right up there. I mean, you have to have something. You have to have some sort of foundation to build it on.
No, well, she's
Yeah,
very
that's
beautiful.
what makeup is. You can't.
Barbara's very, very beautiful. But,
Yeah,
you know, she's there is a little bit of.
she's easy on the eye, especially in your drawing.
Well, I want to try to get some of the age a little bit because I don't want it to be too stylized. Because the idea of the 60s, of course, they burn everything out, all of the little details, and those are the things that I find really interesting. Because, you know, she's not a two-dimensional character. She is three-dimensional. And, you know, a lot of people don't realise that. If they haven't watched the whole series or they haven't watched her develop as a character in the show, you know, you wouldn't credit it. You'd think that she's a one-dimensional, you know, bimbo or something, and she's definitely not. She's not at all.
Well, you obviously saw more episodes than I did. I didn't
Okay.
think she was a bimbo, but you're obviously alluding to stuff that.
She's incredibly articulate and very intelligent.
Well, there is a difference. I mean, you would have
She
watched.
knows.
You would have been about 10 watching her.
Yeah.
Well, I was about. You know, I started at 65. I'm 15.
You're 15 now.
At 65, I was 15. So
At 65. Oh, you mean 1965?
yeah,
Didn't come out here. We wouldn't have had it in 65. We would have had it in 66.
yeah.
I don't remember seeing anything.
I watched
in
a few
1965.
episodes, but you know, I was. I think I was lusting after Sophie Loren at that stage of my life.
What show was she in?
Oh, she was in the movies, mate. Boy and a Dolphin.
Right. Alan Ladd.
Yeah. The Pride and the Passion, with Sinatra and Cary Grant. Looks really nice. You've done a nice
Boom
job.
Booty
there.
Boom with Peter Sellers.
The Millionairess.
God, she was in some stupid films as well.
Well, she could act.
Yeah, okay.
Well, she won an Academy Award for the
I
Best
know.
Actress.
Yeah.
She could act. But it's funny about Italian actresses because all their husbands were producers.
Yeah.
All of
Carlo
them.
Ponti.
All of them.
Yeah. Amazing, that. How did that work?
Well, that's how it works. I mean,
That's how it works.
That's how it works in Italy. Like in Italy, they
Right.
they they do post-production with sound. Like,
Yes.
you know, you can say what you want on screen, but
you're going to be lip synced anyway.
yeah,
Doesn't matter
that's
what
right.
the language.
That's right.
Yeah. So a lot of European films. I love the sound effects in German films of that era. It went a bit berserk.
I don't know. It used to
The
drive me nuts.
footsteps.
The footsteps.
I
Yeah,
know,
the footsteps. You'd
yeah.
hear them. Someone would be about 300 feet away, and you hear click,
Yeah.
click, click, click. You know.
But you know, it's you've not lived till you've seen a film noir performed by like Der Hexe or something, performed by German actors in a German film. It's quite something. You know, the expressions, the screams, all of this stuff, and the Italian films too. When they do horror films, of course, they invest them with so much
The Italians
incredible energy.
The Italians went absolutely over the top with
Horror.
what was his name? That main guy?
Braga.
Yeah, they're really, you know, really crazy. Really.
Oh, you mean from the 70s?
Yeah.
Yeah,
What was his name?
can't remember. But
Really crazy. Like really like opera.
yeah,
10 times faster.
Tenebrae and stuff.
The white background's really brought it forward again, hasn't it?
What's the idea?
Yeah, I know, but
Using it.
it's powerfully brought it forward.
So she's a standalone broad. She's a standalone actress. She's a really clever
You're
girl.
not going to finish off the
No, because
Betty because the light's on it.
I'm just capturing some of the light. So
Okay.
it's like what I did here, you know, but I don't want to overstep this.
What about this little device here, the little line in there?
All right, okay. Gosh. Here and there and here. That's enough.
That's enough. That's enough.
Let's try to-
As my boss once said to me, he said, when
Yeah.
is enough enough?
I have to spell this out. B-A-R B-A-R
All right.
A-E-D-E-N. Yay! No mistake. I get very happy when that happens. So, there's Barbara Eden. And this is her.
Before?
So blurry, but she's very cute there. I think I
Oh, it's
picked
a Doris
nice...
Day. It's a Doris Day filter.
Yeah, it's pixelated. You know, she's really beautiful expression she's got. Really.
So
It's a sort of
this one was
pincer moment.
taken later in life, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think at a Clinton
Ah,
launch or
my
something.
God,
I
you've
don't know.
researched.
So she's very beautiful, very clever, very articulate, and very intelligent. And people don't, you know, if you just have a sort of a, if you just look at the show once, you probably won't occur to you how clever she actually is and what her talent is. But she's a very talented lady, and I enjoyed the show very much. She shines through. She actually makes the show. Like another film with a Jeannie that kind of took over the film. So she took over the film, took over the show. I Dreamed of Jeannie. Barbara Eden. This is Frantz Kantor, and
Jim Bridges.
we're saying to you,
Bye-bye, Barbara.
bye-bye, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Bye-bye.